Hi, everybody. Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5 days and 5 minutes. Coming up tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, we'll be talking about whatever's left from potential tropical cyclone 8 in as it moves inland into North Carolina and points northward. There'll be some heavy rains in parts of North Carolina. We'll talk about how much of that rain, if any, is going to be moving up the coast. Meanwhile, the nice weather in the Northeast will be fading away. We still have Francine remnants in the lower Mississippi Valley. It's all coming up tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, I did have a satellite loop up there for you, a tight shot, but now we'll go to the wider shot, and you can see the clouds and the rotation over North Carolina into South Carolina, and a little bit of convection here. But the vast majority of the circulation of potential tropical cyclone 8 is now on land. So we think that it probably will no longer have a shot for developing, and the low center will actually weaken as it moves inland. And we can look at it from the perspective, excuse me, of the Weather Service hazards map, where I've got the radar overlaid on the observations, seeing some winds along the coast at 25 to 35 miles per hour. There's a gust at 2:50 p.m. Eastern Time in Brunswick County Airport of 37 miles an hour. There were some gusts up into the 40 and 50 mile an hour range with some of the buoys offshore. That has calmed down. It's most of the rain, actually, just about all of the rain now is inland and to the north of the actual low center. The low center itself, just looking at the observations, is probably just about on the coast here near Myrtle Beach. Seeing some west winds there, some south winds on the North Carolina side. So it looks like the center is right on the coast now, and that rain is continuing to spread north and northwestward. We do have some watches and warnings to look at, and they include flood watches in North Carolina. We've got flash flood warnings up in parts of southeastern North Carolina because of the heavy rain. Tropical storm warnings are still up as of 2:50 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll see what they do with this come this evening. My suspicion is that they may still leave them up for a small portion of that coastal area from North Carolina into coastal South Carolina, but on some of that's probably going to get clipped away. Otherwise, most of the country really not seeing very much in terms of adverse weather. Some wind advisories that are up in parts of southern Nevada and northern Arizona and southern California, and that really is just about it. Here's the radar shot, and you see the three green boxes there. Now four green boxes are flash flood warnings, and again, most of the rain covering the state of North Carolina and backing westward. Eventually, some of that moisture is going to move northward in the Northeast down to the northern Mid-Atlantic states through much of Virginia. The radars are nice and quiet. We've got some scattered showers down in Florida, some scattered showers in parts of Mississippi, and on up into Arkansas and Missouri. Stronger thunderstorms up in eastern North Dakota, and we've got some showers and storms in central Colorado down into north central New Mexico. The Storm Prediction Center has a marginal to slight risk up in eastern North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota. Also in coastal North Carolina, we have a marginal to slight risk there, and there is a 2 to 5% tornado risk in the North Carolina zone, a 2% tornado risk from North Dakota on up into Minnesota. For tomorrow, we're seeing marginal to slight risk up in the Western Plains, and that is coming with a small 2% risk area for tornadoes in northeastern Montana. And as we move on to Wednesday into Thursday, no severe weather is forecast at this time, although we do have general thunderstorms being indicated as far north as central Pennsylvania and central New Jersey. Rainfall, we're going to probably see some rain uh, come later Tuesday night and through at least part of Wednesday, but it really tails off once you go north of New York City and southern New England. The amounts drop down to under a quarter of an inch, and the areas along the coast about a half to three-quarters of an inch, three-quarters of an inch to an inch for the Jersey Shore. You get bigger amounts as you get down into Delaware and in eastern Virginia, up to a few inches there, a few additional inches across eastern North Carolina. In some cases, it might be more than just a few, and the same holds for western North Carolina. They're getting some lift into the mountains there with an east wind, and that's enhancing the rainfall in that zone. But in between that and the rain that you see in the northern and central plains is a rather large area from Maine down through western New York and western Pennsylvania and Ohio, from the central Great Lakes south into northern Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, where little to no rain is forecast over the next 7 days. Also busy with up to several inches of rain in parts of Montana and some heavier rains coming into the extreme northwestern part of Washington state. So whatever is left of this potential tropical cyclone, it's really just going to be the moisture. The actual low center is going to get left somewhere in western, south, and North Carolina and just sort of die there. So there'll be this area of rain that will lift northward Tuesday night and spread up through Delaware and Maryland, moving into New Jersey during Wednesday morning, reaching Long Island and southern New England Wednesday afternoon. But it really doesn't look like very much. After that, we've got this onshore flow. So I'm thinking Thursday, we may not get much in the way of rain. We'll probably see uh, some leftover clouds around. And then there's a high that's going to be building down from eastern Canada. At the same time, you've got another little non-tropical low that's going to probably try and form along the New Jersey coast sometime on Thursday. And that may enhance the onshore flow at least into Friday. So we will be stubborn to get rid of those clouds until Saturday and Sunday, when I think enough of that high to the northeast builds down. And with northeast winds, it'll be it'll be cool. It won't be, it won't be hot by any means. It'll be somewhat cool, and we'll probably have at least some sunshine and dry weather for Saturday and Sunday. Meanwhile, we do have a system coming into the west with a deep trough there, even a little bit of snow being indicated in parts of northwestern Wyoming as low pressure goes up into Montana come Wednesday. That goes northeast up into Canada, really doesn't make any eastward progress. And we don't see any important cold front coming until maybe a week from tomorrow, when we might see a cold front approach with some showers. And then finally, weather systems may start to move in general, although it's no guarantee. This particular run of the model wants to make a hurricane in the Northwest Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico sometime later next week, but it's one of those deals where it's so far out in the long range that if we look at this evening on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, it's quite likely that that system will not be there, or if it is there, centered in a different place, and maybe it's a lot weaker. So we'll let the long range do what the long range does, which is basically drive forecasters crazy. So we'll see you tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, and that's at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time.